If you've ever thought history was boring or biology was dry, this video is about to change your mind. These facts are so unexpected, they sound made up, except they're not. What you're about to hear is absolutely worth your time. Get ready.
So many questions. Why is the world spinning? Why is the moon keeping its orbit? Can rockets fly backwards? The facts you didn't know you needed. The Useless Show.
The Hallstatt salt mine in Austria contains a wooden staircase built around 1000 BCE, right in the middle of the Bronze Age. Over 3,000 years later, it's still intact. Why? Salt. Lots of salt. It preserved the wood like a prehistoric pickle. In short, Hallstatt didn't just give us salt mining history, it gave us a masterclass in flavor-based carpentry conservation. Some late Pleistocene mastodons, giant shaggy elephant relatives, had bones containing mercury. Not from industry, but from eating plants near a natural geothermal vents. These were the earliest known megafaunal victims of environmental toxicity. So yes, millions of years before power plants or pop music, large mammals were already dealing with heavy metal exposure. In Australia's Wombayan caves, scientists found stromatolite-like structures built by cyanobacteria. But here's the twist. These bacteria didn't use sunlight. They built limestone formations in total darkness, powered by chemical reactions alone. It's photosynthesis's weird cousin, doing construction projects in the dark, with no crowd, no light, and zero appreciation. Male sand gobies don't just dig tunnels and seabeds to breed. They also meticulously clean the roof of their tunnel with their mouths. This isn't about cleanliness. It's to improve water circulation inside the tunnel, which impresses females. Because underwater, the real dating flex isn't a six-pack. It's efficient ventilation. The Dama gazelle lives in the Sahel, where water is scarce and temperatures regularly cross 40 degrees Celsius. It never drinks. Instead, it extracts moisture from plants and conserves every drop by producing ultra-dry feces and concentrated urine. It's the ultimate minimalist, surviving a desert with zero hydration and no complaints. Chondrocladia lyra, or the harp sponge, doesn't filter water like most sponges. Instead, it catches tiny animals with Velcro-like threads, digests them on the spot, and absorbs their nutrients. Essentially, it's a passive-aggressive predator, stationary, silent, and always sticky. Teotihuacan, a major city in central Mexico that once housed over 100,000 inhabitants, did not develop a full grammatical writing system like the Maya. Archaeologists have documented over 100 distinct glyphs in murals, artifacts, and urban spaces, many representing names, dates, titles, or places. These symbols formed a functional notational system, and no surviving texts on perishable materials have yet been found. The fungus Fusarium oxysporum infects plants by imitating their own hormone, auxin. This allows it to enter their vascular systems without triggering defense responses. It's biological identity theft. The fungus pretends to be the plant's own signal, then proceeds to sabotage it from the inside. During mating season, male toppy antelopes sometimes give false alarm calls to stop females from leaving. Every time a female walks away, the male yells, "Predator," just in case she reconsiders. It's less about survival and more about desperate clinginess in wildlife form. In 1904, the U.S. Army built Wham Cats, a 2,000-mile telegraph line across Alaska's ice and wilderness. It connected remote military posts long before most civilians had phones. Because if there's one thing faster than Washington, it's telegraphing through permafrost. Xenophiophores are single-celled organisms that live over 10,000 meters deep in the ocean and grow as wide as 20 centimeters. They construct protective shells from ocean sediment called tests. In essence, it's one giant cell with real estate ambitions. Pimelea simplex, or desert rice flower, is a non-thermogenic plant native to inland Australia. Unlike thermogenic species such as skunk cabbage or certain cycads, it does not generate floral heat. Instead, it relies on other strategies, such as timing its blooms, visual cues, and natural scent release under ambient conditions, to attract pollinators, making it part of the vast majority of flowering plants that succeed without temperature-based pollinator lures. In 1628, Sweden launched the warship Vasa. It sank 15 minutes later after sailing barely 1 kilometer due to top-heavy construction. When it was recovered from Stockholm's harbor in 1961, it was remarkably preserved, proving that poor engineering can, in rare cases, achieve immortality. Discovered in 2019 in the Philippines, Lithorato abatanica is a shipworm that doesn't eat wood. Instead, it bores into limestone, digests minerals, and alters riverbeds. It's a clam that swapped wood for rock, essentially a geologist with gills. During the Ediacaran period, over 500 million years ago, Triberchidium heraldicum lived on the seafloor with a three-way symmetrical body, something not seen in modern animals. Its unique shape helped it trap food from water currents without moving. No eyes, no mouth, just smart geometry and passive dining, long before anything had bones or opinions. Polypterus senegalis, a fish from Africa, has lungs and can walk using its fins. When raised on land in labs, young ones grow stronger limbs and change how they move, showing how adaptable evolution can be. It's like a fish taking weekend lessons and being a lizard, just in case. In 1902, Mount Pelée erupted on the Caribbean island of Martinique, killing nearly 30,000 people in Saint-Pierre in just minutes. Only two survived, one of them a prisoner protected by thick stone walls. Ironically, being locked up saved his life. Not exactly how you'd expect to dodge a pyroclastic cloud. The Asian palm civet, Paradoxurus hermaphroditus, plays a key role in making Kopi Luwak coffee. The animal eats coffee cherries, digests the pulp, and excretes the beans. Enzymes in its gut change the bean's chemical makeup, affecting the flavor. Yes, this is a drink that depends entirely on civet digestion. Mesonyx, a meat-eating mammal from the Paleocene, had hooved toes and sharp teeth. Fossils suggest it was a top predator before modern carnivores evolved. Strangely, it's also considered an early cousin of whales, because apparently before swimming with krill, some whales' ancestors ran on hooves and chased prey. The salamander Bolitoglossa doflani hunts using a high-speed tongue that shoots out at over 20 meters per second. It doesn't use muscle force. Instead, elastic energy snaps it forward like a built-in slingshot. It's one of the most efficient feeding systems in the animal kingdom, and it fits in your hand. The giant Gippsland earthworm in southeastern Australia can grow over 3 meters long, roughly the size of a garden hose. It makes a loud gurgling sound underground and lives in deep, moist soil. Because of its slow reproduction and fragile habitat, even minor farming can wipe out local populations. Hirondellea gigas, a deep-sea amphipod living over 10,000 meters below the surface in the Mariana Trench, has an exoskeleton containing aluminum, likely sourced from a sediment in its environment. This aluminum presence may help the animal withstand conditions where calcium carbonate shells would normally dissolve, making it a notable example of how deep-sea species adapt their body chemistry to survive extreme pressures and corrosive conditions. Anomalocaris may be famous, but Egirocassis benmoli was the real giant. Over 2 meters long and living in the Ordovician seas, this arthropod filtered tiny food from water using rows of spiny limbs. It had both swimming paddles and gill branches. Evolution multitasking before vertebrates got involved. Haplophrenitus carinatus, a Cambrian sea creature, used two curved appendages called helens to stay upright on the ocean floor. It had a cone-shaped shell and fed using a filter organ like modern lepophorids. Not bad for something that looked like a cross between a traffic cone and a jellyfish. In 2012, archaeologists found King Richard III's grave under a parking lot in Leicester. His identity was confirmed through mitochondrial DNA from a living relative of his sister, which means the last English king to die in battle spent centuries under asphalt before forensic science gave him back his name. Ichthyophis bananicus, a legless amphibian found in southern China, breathes through its skin and lays eggs in damp soil. Its babies hatch with gills like fish, then later become underground dwellers. It's like a creature that starts life as a tadpole and retires as a worm. Roman soldiers sometimes engraved sarcastic messages on their ballista bolts, like "catch this," or the names of their commanders. These heavy iron-tipped projectiles weren't just deadly, they were psychological warfare, written in iron and launched with spring-loaded rage. Earth hosts on the order of non-Ilian bacteria, most about 1 micrometer long. If laid end-to-end, they'd stretch for around 10 billion light-years, a truly colossal distance. The oft-quoted figure that this string could circle the Milky Way over 20,000 times is likely a substantial exaggeration. More realistic recalculations suggest it might wrap the galaxy hundreds of times, not tens of thousands. Lingula anatina is a modern brachiopod that has maintained almost the same physical form for over 400 million years. It lives buried in marine sediment and anchors itself using a flexible stalk called a pedicle. This makes it one of the oldest known examples of a living genus that has changed very little since the early Paleozoic era. In 1854, a physician named John Snow traced a deadly cholera outbreak in London to a specific water pump on Broad Street. By mapping where cases occurred, he demonstrated that cholera spread through water rather than air. This investigation became a foundational example of modern epidemiology and public health mapping. Anhydrotherium terranovi was a species of extinct otter that once lived on land. Fossils show it migrated from North America to South America over 2 million years ago, likely crossing the Isthmus of Panama. This behavior suggests that some ancestors of modern marine otters were far more terrestrial than previously assumed. At the archaeological site of Çatalhöyük in central Turkey, researchers uncovered a woven textile made from bast fibers, stripped from tree bark, that dates back to around 7000 BCE. This is currently the oldest known example of woven fabric, appearing long before cotton or wool became common materials. The Cinque de Bemaraha in western Madagascar is a protected area filled with narrow, jagged limestone formations. These formations were shaped by erosion over millions of years, and within their crevices, researchers have found plant and animal species found nowhere else. Human access is extremely limited due to the sharp and vertical terrain. In 1947, physicist Dennis Gabor developed the theory behind holography while studying electron microscopy. His method relied on recording light interference patterns, but it couldn't be tested until coherent laser light became available in the 1960s. His idea eventually made modern optical holography possible. The Nabateans, who lived in parts of the Arabian desert over 2,000 years ago, built systems to collect and store water without the use of metal tools. They used rock channels, cisterns, and carved basins to harvest moisture from rain and condensation. These systems allowed them to live in extremely dry regions with minimal rainfall. Syncypalum dulcificum is a West African berry that contains a compound called miraculin. When eaten, it temporarily changes how sour foods taste, making them seem sweet by altering how the tongue responds to acids. The effect can last over 30 minutes, and researchers are studying it as a potential natural aid for people with diabetes. Burial mounds from the 5th century BCE at Pazyryk in Siberia show that the Scythians may have used cannabis in rituals. Archaeologists found cannabis seeds in wooden inhalation vessels in some graves, suggesting the plant may have had ceremonial or symbolic use among these nomadic groups. In 2018, radar data from the European Space Agency's Mars Express orbiter showed a signal beneath the south polar ice cap of Mars that resembled subglacial lakes found under Earth's Antarctic ice. Scientists believe this could be a layer of liquid water, possibly kept from freezing by high salt concentrations. Selenoclamus isbrida, discovered in a garden in Wales in 2008, is a rare type of carnivorous land slug. It has no eyes or skin pigment and feeds on earthworms using a sharp, radula-like structure. Its name means ghost slug, reflecting both its appearance and how recently it was identified. Titanomyrma gigantea was a giant ant species from the Eocene period, with fossil queens measuring over 5 centimeters long. Fossils from both Europe and North America suggest that these ants may have migrated between continents during warmer climate periods, likely using temporary land bridges across the Arctic. The 6-banded armadillo Euphracis succinctus is native to South America and builds complex underground burrows. These burrows often include side chambers used for food storage or resting. The armadillo sometimes seals the entrance to regulate moisture and temperature, offering a simple but effective form of environmental control. Thermus aquaticus is a bacterium discovered in the hot springs of Yellowstone National Park in the 1960s. It produces Taq polymerase, an enzyme that stays stable at high temperatures. This enzyme became essential for the development of PCR, a method used to copy DNA in research and medical diagnostics. The Mixtec codices of ancient Mesoamerica utilized a screenfold format composed of deerskin sheets coated with lime and natural pigments. Unlike the astronomical or mythological emphasis found in Aztec and Maya texts, Mixtec manuscripts primarily document genealogical records and dynastic marriages, offering critical insight into elite political networks. These codices, such as Codex Zauchnudel, serve as primary sources for understanding Mixtec socio-political organization between the 11th and 16th centuries CE. Megaphragma mimeripene, a parasitoid wasp in the family Trichogrammatidae, measures approximately 200 micrometers in length, making it one of the smallest known insects. Remarkably, several of its neurons are enucleate, lacking nuclei entirely, a rare adaptation that conserves space and metabolic resources in a severely miniaturized nervous system. This condition has been described in research by Polilov as a unique case of nuclear elimination in neural tissue. The Barbagal watermill complex, located near Arles in the Roman province of Gaul, dates to the 2nd century CE and represents the earliest known instance of industrial-scale water-powered milling. The site features a series of 16 overshot wheels arranged in parallel cascades, powered by aqueduct-fed channels. According to studies by Andrew Wilson and others, the complex likely produced flour at a rate sufficient to supply the population of a Roman city. Cymathoa exigua, a parasitic isopod in the family Cymathoidae, exhibits a rare form of parasitism in which it attaches to the tongue of its fish host, induces atrophy through blood drainage, and physically replaces the tongue by anchoring itself to the remaining musculature. This is currently the only documented example of a parasite functionally replacing a host organ. Phronima sedentaria is a small deep-sea crustacean that makes a barrel-shaped home by eating out the inside of a jelly-like creature called a salp. It then lives inside this barrel, using it as both shelter and a place to raise its young. According to some behind-the-scenes accounts, its appearance and behavior partly inspired artist H.R. Giger when designing the Alien Queen for Ridley Scott's 1979 film Alien. The Codex Calixtinus, compiled circa the mid-12th century and attributed to Emmerich Picard, served as a comprehensive guide for pilgrims traveling the Camino de Santiago to the Shrine of St. James in Compostela. It includes liturgical texts, miracle narratives, and practical travel instructions. The Codex represents one of the earliest extant examples of a medieval European travel manual. The gladiator mosaic from the Roman villa at Nennig, Germany, dating to the 3rd century CE, depicts a detailed sequence of gladiatorial combat scenes. It features named combatants, referees, victory gestures, and surrender symbols. The mosaic provides one of the most comprehensive visual records of arena conventions and combat typologies in the Roman Empire. The Ostracon of Scribe Hori, discovered in Deir el Medina, Upper Egypt, consists of limestone flakes featuring informal sketches, including caricatures and erotic imagery. Dated to the New Kingdom, these ostraca offer rare insight into the non-official, satirical, and subversive artistic practices of scribes and artisans associated with royal tomb construction. Capra agagrus critica, commonly known as the Cree goat, is a feral subspecies of wild goat endemic to the island of Crete. Genetic analyses confirm its divergence from modern domesticated goats, preserving traits consistent with Neolithic livestock. Isolated since Minoan times, the species is currently protected in the Lefka Ori mountain range and designated as vulnerable due to limited range and genetic bottlenecking. The Djerba synagogue, also known as El Griba, located on the island of Djerba in Tunisia, is believed to have been established by Jewish communities fleeing the destruction of Solomon's temple in the 6th century BCE. The structure's continuous use and preservation of Judeo-Berber architectural elements mark it as one of the world's oldest active synagogues, with religious activity spanning over 2 millennia. Abu Bakr ibn Muhammad ibn al-Hassan al-Kharaj, a 10th century Persian mathematician, articulated early forms of mathematical induction within his works on algebra. His use of recursive reasoning to establish the validity of binomial coefficients prefigures later European developments by several centuries. His treatises, such as Al-Fakhri, provide foundational texts in the history of Islamic mathematics. The Codex Mendoza, compiled in the mid-16th century by an Aztec tlacuelo for Spanish officials, contains detailed accounts of tributes collected from over 30 conquered provinces of the Aztec Empire. It also includes visual records of military ranks, child discipline in noble families, and educational practices. The Codex offers a unique bilingual perspective on Aztec society at the time of European contact. The shell of the chambered nautilus grows in a precise logarithmic spiral, keeping its proportions consistent as it gets larger. While often claimed to match the golden ratio of about 1.618, measurements show it actually follows a different growth ratio, averaging around 1.310. This pattern has still been studied in mathematical biology and even applied in architecture as an example of efficient natural design. In the early 20th century, physicist June Kondo explained why certain metals become less conductive at lower temperatures when they contain magnetic impurities like iron. Known as the Kondo effect, This counterintuitive behavior laid the groundwork for research in quantum many-body interactions and spintronics. The Chavin de Huantar Temple in the Peruvian Andes contains a complex network of stone ducts and underground galleries that once transmitted the sound of conch shell trumpets. Acoustic tests suggest the layout could produce disorienting, resonant effects, essentially ancient surround sound with a side of ritual intensity. The fossilized remains of the Dakika child discovered in Ethiopia in 2000 belong to the species Australopithecus afarensis. The skeleton includes a hyoid bone, crucial for studying vocal tract evolution, making this fossil a rare data point in understanding early hominin speech capacity. Bante Sre, a 10th century Cambodian temple built from pink sandstone, is noted for its unusually intricate carvings and its origin. Unlike most Angkor temples, it was not commissioned by royalty, but by a learned Brahmin, proof that in Khmer architecture occasionally the pen did rival the sword. The Cryogenian period, spanning from approximately 720 to 635 million years ago, included two major global glaciations. Geological evidence from low-latitude glacial deposits supports the snowball Earth hypothesis, which suggests that the planet was almost entirely frozen, effectively the worst beach day in Earth's history. The ancient Chakawan road system in the American Southwest includes linear pathways up to 9 meters wide, extending for hundreds of kilometers with built-in stairs and curbs. Their purpose remains unclear, though ceremonial use is widely proposed. Either way, these roads were over-engineered for your average foot traffic. Stone tools discovered in the Zagros Mountains of Iran display blade and point technologies comparable to contemporary European assemblages. Their presence suggests that Paleolithic innovations in lithic technology diffused eastward across forager networks long before the rise of farming communities. Acoma Pueblo in New Mexico has been continuously inhabited for over a millennium. Built atop a mesa, it features multi-storied adobe dwellings that remain in use. The elevation provided defense, and the architecture provided continuity, effectively America's oldest high-rise housing complex. The Ili Pika is a rare mountain-dwelling mammal native to China's Tian Shan Range. First spotted in 1983 and not seen again for decades, it has earned the nickname Magic Rabbit. Unfortunately, it can't pull conservation funding out of a hat. Al-Razi, a 9th century Persian physician, was among the first to distinguish smallpox from measles. His emphasis on detailed clinical observation set early foundations for differential diagnosis and remained influential in medical texts across the Islamic world and Europe for centuries. The Paleodictian nodosum trace fossil appears as a symmetrical hexagonal pattern in deep-sea sediments. Though the organism responsible has never been seen, its geometric consistency suggests either a highly disciplined invertebrate or a particularly tidy unknown life form. The classification system for Plinian eruptions is named after the Roman author Pliny the Younger, who described the eruption of Mount Vesuvius in 79 CE in letters to the historian Tacitus. His account mentioned tall eruption columns, pyroclastic flows, and pre-eruption tremors. However, the term Plinian was not used at the time. It was introduced by volcanologists in the 18th century to classify eruptions resembling the one Pliny described. The Wubei Zhi, a 16th century Chinese military encyclopedia, includes instructions for flamethrowers powered by double-piston bellows and multiple gunpowder formulations. This documentation shows that centuries before modern weapons manuals, someone was already writing "do not aim at face" in classical Chinese. Glacial erratics, large rocks found far from their geological origin, were once a mystery to 19th century scientists. Their eventual explanation through glacial transport theory helped validate the concept of widespread ice age glaciation. For decades, these misplaced boulders were geology's version of unsolved luggage claims. The neurological condition micropsia causes objects to appear abnormally small and is frequently linked to temporal lobe epilepsy or migraine episodes. It is a hallmark feature of Alice in Wonderland syndrome, a disorder first identified in the 20th century. Clinical case studies have traced the distortion to occipital and temporal cortical disruptions, which alter visual spatial perception without affecting the physical size or actual distance of the observed object. Many Indian indigenous cattle breeds show notable natural resilience to infections like foot and mouth disease, likely due to robust innate immune responses involving genes such as interferon gamma and BOLA-DRB3. These breeds offer valuable genetic insights for enhancing disease resistance in livestock, though no singular agate breed or isolated transgenic allele has been identified. The Sican culture of northern Peru produced artifacts using arsenical bronze centuries before tin bronze was introduced in the region. Excavated grave goods from Batan Grande, dated between 800 and 1000 CE, contain copper arsenic alloys, requiring smelting at carefully controlled temperatures around 700 degrees Celsius. The metallurgical complexity indicates advanced knowledge of alloy toxicity and pre-Incan experimentation with alternative hardening agents. Cymbellaria muralis, a plant native to southern Europe, demonstrates negative phototropism in its flower stalks. Instead of growing toward light, the seed-bearing stems bend away from illumination and curl into dark crevices, particularly in rocky walls. Botanical studies confirm this trait improves seed dispersal by directing them into shaded cracks, enhancing germination success. The behavior is a documented anomaly in angiosperm phototropic response mechanisms. At the Bolivian archaeological site of Tiwanaku, megalithic stone blocks exceeding 100 tons are arranged with mortarless precision at an altitude of over 12,000 feet. Studies by Andean archaeologists confirm that many blocks were transported from quarries located more than 10 kilometers away. Despite erosion, architectural alignments and tool marks remain visible, yet no definitive method for the lifting or shaping of the stones has been documented. The city of Ugarit, located in present-day Syria and active around 1400 BCE, employed a 30-character alphabetic cuneiform system. Unlike the logographic symbols of Sumerian and Akkadian, Ugaritic script encoded individual consonants and vowels, facilitating faster writing and broader literacy. Clay tablets uncovered at the Ras Shamra excavation site show direct phonetic representations, making it one of the earliest attested alphabetic writing systems. The scalyfoot gastropod discovered near Indian Ocean hydrothermal vents in 2001 is the only known animal to incorporate iron sulfide into its exoskeleton. Its shell features a tri-layered structure with an iron outer layer, a spongy middle zone, and a calcified interior. Studies in biomineralization suggest the structure dissipates mechanical stress, offering potential models for engineered armor in robotics and materials science. The Monte Alto statues, excavated in Guatemala and dated to around 2000 BCE, contain areas of residual magnetism concentrated in the head and navel regions. Magnetometer readings confirm deliberate placement of magnetic basalt or possible exposure to high-temperature magnetic alignment. The localized polarity suggests Mesoamerican sculptors had empirical awareness of magnetism, predating known references to magnetic properties in Eurasian texts by over a millennium. Linear A, used by Minoan scribes on Crete between 1800 and 1400 BCE, remains undeciphered. Though structurally similar to Linear B, which records early Mycenaean Greek, Linear A likely encodes a non-Indo-European language. Over 1,000 inscriptions have been cataloged, primarily on clay tablets from sites such as Inassos and Phaistos. Despite extensive computational and linguistic analysis, no bilingual text or definitive translation system has emerged. The Piltdown Man hoax, exposed in 1953, combined a human cranium with an orangutan jaw to fabricate a missing link. Originally discovered in England in 1912 by Charles Dawson, the fossil misled the scientific community for over 40 years. Fluorine absorption dating conducted by Kenneth Oakley proved the skull and jaw originated from separate periods, leading to one of the most significant fraud revelations in paleoanthropology. Shen Kuo, an 11th century Chinese polymath, recorded a landslide in the Yanzhou region that exposed fossilized bamboo far from its extant habitat. In his dream pool essays, Shen hypothesized that the regional climate must have shifted dramatically over time. This statement represents one of the earliest known formulations of paleoclimatological reasoning, made almost 9 centuries before the modern development of climate science. The Indus Valley Civilization, active from approximately 2600 to 1900 BCE, used standardized fired bricks with a consistent ratio of 1 to 2 to 4. Archaeological surveys at sites like Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa have documented uniformity across urban layouts, drainage systems, and housing. The widespread application of this modular system implies a centralized standardization protocol in civil engineering long before comparable practices in Mesopotamia or Egypt. The Sundaland hypothesis proposes that a large landmass in Southeast Asia was submerged following glacial melt after the last glacial maximum, around 10,000 years ago. Geological sonar mapping reveals submerged river valleys and cave art sites in areas now underwater. Linguistic studies link Austroasiatic language dispersion patterns to this now submerged platform, suggesting a once thriving prehistoric culture lost to post Ice Age sea level rise. Still here? Good. That means you're into this, and we're just getting to the wildest parts. Stay locked in. By the way, if this kind of content is your thing, subscribing helps us make more of it. Just saying, the Maragay Observatory, constructed in the year 1259 by Persian astronomer Nasir al-Din al-Tusi, featured advanced instruments including a massive armillary sphere. Its data were compiled into the Zge-Ilkhani astronomical tables. These methods were later translated into Latin and influenced European models, including the work of Nicholas Copernicus in the 16th century. In 2008, biologists documented the life cycle of the male Adactylidium mite. It is born inside its mother, mates with its sisters internally, and dies without ever exiting her body. The entire cycle completes within a few hours. The plant species Antinaria plantaginefolia reproduces through apomixis, producing viable seeds without fertilization. This results in all-female clonal populations, some of which are genetically identical across wide regions. The process bypasses meiosis and allows indefinite reproduction without male genetic contribution. Langia henipavirus was identified in China in 2022, following the surveillance of febrile patients in Shandong and Henan provinces. It is a zoonotic virus belonging to the Paramyxoviridae family, with genetic similarities to Nipah and Hendra viruses. Shrews were identified as the most likely animal reservoir. The city of Mohenjo-Daro, part of the Indus Valley Civilization around 2600 BCE, used standardized brick dimensions with ratios of 1 to 2 to 4. Weights used in trade were accurate to within 1.6 millimeters, suggesting a decimal-based measurement system implemented uniformly across sites. The Tarquinum Sanitatis, a Latin medical compendium from the 14th century, is based on the 10th century Arabic work Taqwim al-Sihah by Ibn Butlan. It includes early medical advice on emotional health, such as avoiding excessive sadness, managing boredom, and balancing joy. It reflects transmission of Greco-Arabic medicine into medieval Europe. In 2010, researchers at the J. Craig Venter Institute synthesized a complete bacterial genome, Mycoplasma mycoides J. CVI Syn 1.0, and inserted it into a cell. The cell replicated autonomously, marking the first creation of a self-replicating organism with a synthetic genome. The Sator square, found on ancient Roman walls in Pompeii and across Europe, contains the Latin words SATORAREPOTENETOPERAROTAS, arranged to read identically forwards, backwards, and across. Despite widespread discovery, its origin and function remain undetermined, with proposed uses ranging from cryptographic device to religious symbol. Acoustic shadow effects during the American Civil War caused battlefield sounds to travel unpredictably. At the Battle of Seven Pines in 1862, Richmond residents heard cannon fire clearly over 30 kilometers away, while Union reinforcements nearby heard nothing. The phenomenon is linked to atmospheric inversion layers and terrain distortion. In 1822, a white stork was found in northern Germany with a Central African spear piercing its neck. The specimen, called the Pfeil stork, remains preserved at the University of Rostock, and provided the first confirmed evidence of long-distance avian migration between Europe and Africa. The Chernobyl disaster on April 26, 1986, led to the immediate evacuation of over 115,000 residents from the 30-kilometer exclusion zone. The explosion at Reactor 4 released radioactive material over Belarus, Ukraine, and Russia, resulting in long-term contamination and international health monitoring. The Japanese term sundoku refers to the act of acquiring reading material and allowing it to accumulate without being read. Though the term dates back to the Meiji era, it continues to describe modern consumer reading habits, particularly in academic and literary circles. During the Apollo 17 mission in December 1972, astronauts discovered orange-colored soil near Shorty Crater. Analysis later revealed it to be volcanic glass beads formed from pyroclastic eruptions, indicating explosive lunar volcanism over 3 billion years ago. In 2022, researchers retrieved DNA from ancient plants preserved in Greenland's Cap Copenhagen Formation. The genetic material, dated to approximately 2 million years ago, represents the oldest known preserved DNA, predating previously discovered sequences by nearly 1 million years. While excavating the Paris metro in the late 19th century, workers uncovered remnants of a Roman-era road. The find included preserved cobblestones, ceramic fragments, and wheel ruts indicating consistent vehicular traffic, confirming Paris's occupation during the Gallo-Roman period. A 16th century Spanish automaton known as the mechanical monk was built by clockmaker Juanello Turiano. The device uses a spring-driven mechanism to walk, move its arms, and strike its chest in rhythmic motion. It is housed in the Smithsonian Institution and represents one of the earliest humanoid machines. In Tunisia's Matmata region, Berber communities constructed underground homes carved directly into sandstone formations. These structures maintain stable temperatures year-round and date back several centuries. The location was later used as a filming site for Luke Skywalker's home in the 1977 film Star Wars: A New Hope. In 2023, archaeologists in Zambia discovered two interlocked wooden logs shaped by early humans using stone tools. The structure is dated to at least 476,000 years ago, making it the oldest known example of wooden architecture. The discovery challenges previous timelines for early human engineering capabilities. In 2020, researchers at the University of Adelaide and Flinders University identified a hormone in Australian platypus venom that mimics glucagon-like peptide 1, a human hormone involved in insulin regulation. Unlike human GLP-1, the platypus version resists rapid degradation, offering potential for longer-acting treatments in type 2 diabetes therapies. The discovery provides a novel biological pathway for endocrinological drug development. The Hadza people of northern Tanzania speak a language that includes click consonants, a feature associated with some of the earliest human phonetic systems. Linguists consider these phonemes among the oldest spoken sounds, unrelated to most modern language families. The Hadza are one of the last remaining hunter-gatherer societies in East Africa, preserving an oral language structure that may date back tens of thousands of years. In 2018, osteological and grave artifact analysis at the Birka site in Sweden confirmed that a Viking warrior buried with full military equipment, including weapons and gaming pieces, was biologically female. The findings, published in the American Journal of Physical Anthropology, challenge historical assumptions about gender roles in Norse military culture and demonstrate female participation in elite martial positions during the Viking Age. The Buta's Void is a large, roughly spherical region of intergalactic space measuring nearly 330 million light-years in diameter. It contains very few galaxies relative to its volume, making it one of the most extensive known cosmic voids. Its existence was first reported in 1981 by astronomer Robert Kirshner and colleagues during redshift surveys of galactic distributions. The Herculaneum scrolls were carbonized during the eruption of Mount Vesuvius in 79 CE and remain unrolled due to their fragility. Researchers are using X-ray phase contrast tomography to reconstruct the internal ink patterns digitally. This technique enables the non-destructive reading of ancient Greek philosophical texts, primarily associated with the Epicurean school, found in the Villa of the Papyri. On the island of Yap in Micronesia, large limestone discs called rye stones functioned as currency. The stones, some over 4 meters in diameter and weighing several tons, were quarried in Palau and transported by canoe. Their value was not dependent on physical possession. Social acknowledgement of ownership was sufficient, making the stones among the earliest forms of abstract monetary systems. The maned wolf is a canid native to South American grasslands. It features disproportionately long legs adapted for visibility in tall vegetation. Despite its name, genetic analysis confirms it is not closely related to true wolves or foxes, but represents the only extant species in the genus Chrysocheon, diverging from other canids approximately 7 million years ago. During construction of the Panama Canal between 1904 and 1914, over 25,000 laborers died, primarily from yellow fever, malaria, and industrial accidents. The highest mortality occurred during the French-led phase under Ferdinand de Lesseps. American control from 1904 implemented sanitation reforms under William Gorgas, reducing disease but not eliminating fatalities in one of history's deadliest engineering projects. The Dogon people of Mali possess traditional astronomical knowledge that includes awareness of Sirius B, a white dwarf star invisible to the naked eye. Anthropological studies in the 20th century, notably by Marcel Griol and Germaine Dieterlen, reported Dogon oral traditions describing Sirius B's orbit and density, despite the star's discovery by Western astronomers using telescopes only in the 19th century. In 2023, paleontologists reported fossilized skin impressions of Psittacosaurus from the Jehol biota of China, revealing detailed pigmentation patterns. Using laser-stimulated fluorescence and microscopy, researchers observed countershading camouflage, dark on the back and light on the belly, indicating visual concealment adaptations against Cretaceous predators. The fossil dates to approximately 120 million years ago. Marcania polymorpha, a liverwort species, is part of one of the oldest lineages of land plants, with liverwort fossils dating back over 400 million years. While this particular species is not directly known from such ancient fossils, it shares many traits with early non-vascular plants. It reproduces asexually through gemmae and is widely used as a model organism for studying the evolutionary transition of plants to terrestrial environments during the Paleozoic era. The Saqqara bird is a carved wooden artifact dated to approximately 200 BCE, discovered in an Egyptian tomb near Saqqara. Shaped with avian features and horizontal tailplane-like wings, its aerodynamic form has prompted speculation regarding ancient understanding of flight principles. No evidence exists of functional aircraft, but the artifact continues to be studied for its symbolic or experimental significance. On August 21, 1945, physicist Harry Daghlian died following a criticality accident at Los Alamos Laboratory. He accidentally dropped a tungsten carbide brick onto a plutonium core, triggering a neutron radiation spike. The event, later dubbed part of the Demon Core incidents, exposed Daghlian to a fatal dose of ionizing radiation, making him the first nuclear-related casualty in history. The Ramanujan prime, defined by Srinivasa Ramanujan in 1913, specifies the smallest number r sub n, such that for all x greater than or equal to Rn, the number of primes between x divided by 2 and x is at least n. These primes contribute to analytic number theory by providing lower bounds on prime densities in given intervals and are used in prime counting function approximations. The Banaway rice terraces in the Ifugao region of Luzon, Philippines, were constructed more than 2,000 years ago using stone tools and gravity-based irrigation. Carved into mountainsides up to 1,500 meters high, the terraces represent advanced indigenous agricultural engineering. They remain functional and are recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site due to their historical and ecological significance. The Codex Sinaiticus is a 4th century CE manuscript of the Christian Bible written in Greek on vellum. It includes parts of the Old and New Testaments and was discovered in the mid-19th century at St. Catherine's Monastery on the Sinai Peninsula by Constantin von Tischendorf. Currently housed in the British Library, it is one of the oldest surviving complete biblical codices. NASA's Ingenuity helicopter, delivered to Mars aboard the Perseverance rover in 2021, became the first powered, controlled aircraft to operate on another planet. Weighing 1.8 kilograms, it uses counter-rotating carbon fiber blades spanning 1.2 meters. Its successful flights demonstrated feasibility for aerial exploration in Mars' thin atmosphere, which has only 1% the density of Earth's. The genome of the Shetland pony includes variants associated with compact bone structure, efficient fat storage, and thermoregulation. These adaptations support survival in the Shetland Islands' cold, wind-exposed terrain with limited forage. Genetic studies confirm selection for small stature and metabolic efficiency, traits that distinguish the breed among domesticated equines. Average adult height is under 1 meter at the withers. The enzyme rubisco plays a central role in photosynthesis by catalyzing the first major step of carbon fixation. It is found in the chloroplasts of plants, algae, and cyanobacteria. Because of its essential function and widespread presence, rubisco is considered the most abundant protein on Earth, accounting for a significant portion of leaf nitrogen in terrestrial ecosystems. In 2005, a geological event in the Afar region of Ethiopia created the Dabahu fissure, an 8-meter-wide crack that opened over just 10 days. This event marked a rare observation of continental rifting in progress, where the African and Arabian tectonic plates are slowly pulling apart, offering researchers direct evidence of how new ocean basins can eventually form. Before the widespread use of the abacus, Chinese scholars used counting rods arranged on a counting board to perform calculations. This positional system supported addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and even solving linear equations. Evidence of its use appears as early as the Warring States period, around the 4th century BCE, predating comparable arithmetic systems in Europe by centuries. Linus Pauling initially proposed a triple helix structure for DNA, but in 1953, James Watson and Francis Crick introduced the double helix model that became widely accepted. Their model relied heavily on X-ray diffraction images produced by Rosalind Franklin and Raymond Gosling. The double helix arrangement explained DNA replication and base pairing, forming the foundation for molecular genetics. Spoken by indigenous communities across northern Siberia, the Samoyedic languages are part of the Uralic family and include Nenets, Enets, and Nganasan. These languages preserve linguistic features such as agglutinative grammar, noun case systems, and evidential markers. Their grammatical structure differs significantly from Indo-European languages and provides valuable information on ancient human migration and communication patterns. The tomb of China's first emperor, Qin Shi Huang, constructed in the 3rd century BCE near Xi'an, remains largely unexcavated. Historical records suggest it contains rivers of mercury to simulate landscapes. Modern soil analyses have detected elevated mercury concentrations around the mound, lending scientific support to these ancient descriptions. The nearby Terracotta Army was discovered in the 1970s. The Tlingit people of the Pacific Northwest crafted ceremonial objects known as coppers, which were shaped like shields and made of hammered copper sheets. These items held symbolic and economic value, often exchanged or publicly broken during potlatch feasts to display social status or settle disputes. Each copper had a known history of ownership, making it both a ritual item and record. The Dighton Rock is a roughly 40-ton boulder located in the Taunton River in Massachusetts. It contains carvings whose origins are still debated. First recorded in the 17th century, the markings have been attributed to Native American petroglyphs, Norse explorers, Portuguese mariners, and even Phoenicians. Despite extensive study, there is no consensus on who carved them or when. In 2021, researchers working in northern Guatemala used airborne LiDAR, light detection, and ranging to scan dense jungle terrain. They identified more than 60,000 previously unknown Maya structures, including roads, fortifications, and ceremonial platforms. The discovery provided evidence of extensive urban planning and connectivity in pre-Columbian Maya civilization, particularly around the ancient city of Tikal. Cicadas produce sound using a pair of structures called tymbals, located on the sides of their abdomen. These tymbals rapidly buckle inward and release, generating a loud, resonating call. Some species can exceed 100 decibels in volume. The sound is mainly used by males to attract mates, and is among the loudest biological sounds produced by any insect. The basilica cistern, constructed during the reign of Emperor Justinian I in the 6th century CE, lies beneath present-day Istanbul. It was capable of storing over 80,000 cubic meters of water and supplied the Great Palace complex. The structure contains more than 300 marble columns, many repurposed from older Roman buildings, including 2 bases carved with the face of Medusa. The Alma-Ata Sitta meteorite was the first extraterrestrial object observed in space and subsequently recovered on Earth. Associated with asteroid 2008 TC3, it entered Earth's atmosphere on October 6, 2008, and disintegrated over northern Sudan. Over 600 fragments were later recovered from the Nubian desert. The meteorite belongs to the rare Urilite class, providing valuable insight into early planetary differentiation. Inuit communities traditionally utilized inuksut, man-made stone landmarks, across Arctic landscapes. These structures served various functions, including navigational aids, directional markers for caribou drives, and indicators of spiritual or culturally significant sites. Their design varies by region and purpose, and their continued use reflects the complex spatial knowledge systems of indigenous Arctic populations. The gelada, endemic to the Ethiopian highlands, is a graminivorous primate, notable for its vocal complexity. Studies have shown that geladas use vocal sequences with rhythmic properties resembling those of human speech. Research by Bergman et al. In 2012 highlighted that their vocal exchanges followed temporal structures potentially relevant to the evolution of proto-language. Fluted projectile points attributed to the Clovis culture, dated to approximately 13,000 years before present, exhibit advanced lithic flaking techniques. These spear points, characterized by longitudinal flutes removed from the base, facilitated hafting to wooden shafts. The abrupt archaeological disappearance of Clovis artifacts remains unresolved and continues to prompt debate regarding early human dispersal and extinction events in North America. The Indri, a large lemur species native to Madagascar, is among the few non-human mammals known to engage in structured vocal duetting. Research published in Current Biology in 2021 by Gamba et al. Documented that these vocalizations contain measurable tempo, rhythm, and pitch organization, offering a potential comparative model for investigating the origins of musicality and temporal coordination in primates. The tomb of the diver, discovered in Paestum, Italy, and dated to circa 470 BCE, contains unique painted frescoes interpreted as non-funerary in content. This tomb is singular within the Greek world for its depiction of a symposium scene and a solitary figure diving into water. The iconography, executed in buon fresco technique, provides rare visual evidence of Greek painting outside domestic or temple contexts. A single gram of soil may contain up to 10 billion microorganisms, encompassing thousands of taxonomic units, including bacteria, archaea, fungi, and protists. The vast majority of these microbial species remain uncultured and undescribed, making soil one of the most biologically diverse environments on Earth. Advancements in metagenomics and high-throughput sequencing have facilitated partial characterization of this microbiota. Aerogel, particularly silica-based variants developed by NASA and other institutions, holds the record for the lowest known density of any solid material. With a typical density ranging from 0.03 to zero point 0.3 grams per cubic centimeter, it consists of over 99% air by volume. Its low thermal conductivity, below 0.01 watts per meter Kelvin, makes it an effective insulator in both terrestrial and aerospace applications. Actually, let me know in the comments. Have you heard any of these before? I'll be checking responses. Lichtenberg figures are fractal-like electrical discharge patterns formed when high-voltage electricity passes through insulating materials. These patterns can be created experimentally in dielectric solids or observed in rare cases of human lightning strike survivorship. They represent a visualization of electrical branching behavior governed by dielectric breakdown pathways. The Marangoni effect describes mass transfer along an interface due to surface tension gradients caused by temperature or concentration differences. This phenomenon is visible in everyday contexts, such as the formation of wine tears on a glass. It is quantitatively described by the Marangoni number, which models the relative importance of surface tension-driven convection versus diffusion. A pangram is defined as a sentence that includes every letter of a given alphabet at least once. In English, the most commonly cited example is, "The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog." Pangrams are utilized in typography testing, keyboard layout evaluation, and cryptographic systems due to their letter coverage efficiency. In the 19th century, British firms imported large quantities of mummified cats from Egyptian archaeological sites. These remains, excavated primarily for commercial gain, were ground into powder and used as agricultural fertilizer. Historical records from the Liverpool docks document shipments exceeding 180,000 cats, a practice curtailed only after the implementation of stricter heritage preservation laws. The island of Sark, part of the bailiwick of Guernsey and the Channel Islands, maintains strict regulations prohibiting motor vehicles. Local transportation is limited to walking, bicycles, and horse-drawn carts. This regulatory framework supports the island's designation as one of the last road vehicle-free jurisdictions in Europe, contributing to its conservation of traditional rural infrastructure. During the early 19th century, the British East India Company maintained a private military force exceeding 260,000 soldiers. This contingent surpassed the size of the contemporary British Army and was instrumental in maintaining colonial control across the Indian subcontinent. The force was formally disbanded following the Indian Rebellion of 1857 and the subsequent Government of India Act in 1858. In 2015, researchers led by Jonathan Russell at Yale University identified a fungal species, Pestalozchiopsis microspora, in the Amazon rainforest capable of degrading polyurethane plastic under both aerobic and anaerobic conditions. This metabolic capacity has positioned the fungus as a potential candidate for biotechnological applications in waste management and synthetic polymer decomposition. In 2011, scientists discovered the nematode Halocephalobus mephisto in groundwater located over 3 kilometers beneath the Earth's surface in South African gold mines. This organism, capable of surviving temperatures above 37 degrees Celsius, low oxygen, and high lithostatic pressure, represents one of the deepest multicellular life forms known. Its discovery has implications for extremophile biology and subsurface biosphere studies. The Apollo 11 mission left a retroreflector array on the lunar surface in 1969. This device still returns laser pulses from Earth, allowing researchers to measure the Earth-Moon distance with an accuracy of a few millimeters. It remains one of the few scientific instruments on the Moon still in active use. The London Underground includes a number of disused or ghost stations that were abandoned due to changes in passenger traffic or network routes. Some of these subterranean spaces were repurposed during the World War II as secure government bunkers or air raid shelters, which may be the only time the tube ran ahead of schedule. In 2008, the European Space Agency launched its first automated transfer vehicle, named Jules Verne, to deliver cargo to the International Space Station. The mission successfully transported supplies, fuel, scientific equipment, and personal items for the crew. After completing its delivery, the ATV was repurposed to safely dispose of waste from the station, re-entering Earth's atmosphere in a controlled burn, demonstrating its dual role in both resupply and orbital waste management. Gallium is a soft metal that melts at about 29.8 degrees Celsius, allowing it to liquefy in a human hand. In metallurgy, its interaction with certain metals, particularly aluminum, can cause a process called liquid metal embrittlement. In LME, liquid gallium infiltrates the grain boundaries of aluminum, making the metal brittle and more likely to crack under stress. The Statue of Unity in Gujarat, India, completed in 2018, is currently the tallest statue in the world. Standing at 182 meters, it honors Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, a key figure in Indian unification. It is nearly twice the height of the Statue of Liberty, which now looks distinctly travel-sized by comparison. South Korea operates an emergency number 1330 specifically for tourists. The service offers real-time assistance in multiple languages, including translation and travel guidance, making it one of the few helplines where getting lost might be the best way to explore. Susami Bay in Japan is home to the world's deepest functioning postbox, located 10 meters underwater. Installed in 1999 to promote tourism, it receives thousands of waterproof letters each year. Mail delivery is slightly delayed, but the view is unmatched. In scuba diving, the OK gesture, forming a circle with your thumb and forefinger, means I'm fine. A thumbs up, however, means ascend. Confusing the two might result in an unexpected trip to the surface and possibly some annoyed dive buddies. Bats are the only mammals capable of true sustained flight. Their wings are composed of thin membranes stretched across elongated finger bones, unlike gliding mammals such as flying squirrels, which rely on passive descent and stylish capes. The Milky Seas effect is a bioluminescent phenomenon in which vast areas of ocean emit a continuous blue-white glow. Caused by luminous bacteria, the effect can span over 15,000 square kilometers and has been confirmed via satellite imaging. Nature, it seems, occasionally enjoys atmospheric lighting. Canada possesses the longest national coastline on Earth, measuring over 202,000 kilometers. This accounts for nearly one-fifth of the global total, a figure that explains both the maple syrup exports and the number of winter coats in circulation. The earliest known vending machine dates back to the 1st century CE and was invented by Hero of Alexandria. It dispensed a measured amount of holy water upon insertion of a coin, possibly the only time divine blessings came with exact change. The China Jinping Underground Laboratory, located more than 2,400 meters beneath a mountain in Sichuan province, is the deepest operating underground lab on Earth. It is primarily used for particle physics and dark matter experiments, with minimal signal interference and minimal sunlight. Charles Darwin is credited with inventing a wheeled office chair. By adding casters to his seat, he could move efficiently between specimen tables in his study. A 19th century innovation that quietly launched the era of the rolling swivel chair and the modern procrastinator's dance. The number 172 is embedded in the engraving on the reverse side of the United States $5 bill. It appears within the Bush design at the base of the Lincoln Memorial, positioned as a subtle engraving detail in the currency's artwork. This number does not have a known functional purpose and is often considered a feature added by the designers during the note's production. John F. Kennedy, the 35th President of the United States, was recorded speaking at over 350 words per minute in several public addresses. This speech rate notably faster than the average conversational pace of 150 to 160 words per minute, was considered one of the fastest reliably documented among political leaders during the mid-20th century. Over the course of an average human lifetime, estimated at approximately 79 years, a person is likely to walk over 192,000 kilometers. This is roughly equivalent to 5 complete circumnavigations of Earth along the equator, which measures approximately 40,075 kilometers in circumference. Odontophobia is classified as a specific phobia involving an extreme or irrational fear of teeth or dental procedures. It falls under the broader category of anxiety disorders and can lead to avoidance of dental visits, increasing the risk of oral health complications. The condition may stem from previous trauma, sensory sensitivities, or fear of pain associated with dental treatment. The two marble lions in front of the New York Public Library's main branch in Manhattan are named Patience and Fortitude. They were officially given these names during the 1930s by Mayor Fiorello LaGuardia. Carved from Tennessee marble, the lions have become cultural symbols of the library and remain among the most recognized public sculptures in the United States. As of recent government wildlife estimates, the kangaroo population in Australia exceeds 40 million, while the human population stands at approximately 26 million. This ratio means kangaroos outnumber humans by more than 1.5 to 1. Most kangaroos are concentrated in grassland and shrubland ecosystems, and their population is regulated through seasonal culling and land management strategies. A volume of 1 million standard goldfish bowls, each holding approximately 1 gallon, would equal roughly 3.78 million liters of water. This volume is sufficient to fill a small sports stadium or an Olympic-sized swimming pool approximately 1.5 times, illustrating the cumulative scale of small containers at large quantities. The soft drink 7-Up was introduced in 1929 by Charles Leiper Grigg. The 7 in the name referred to its original 7-ounce glass bottles, while Up symbolized the carbonation that caused the beverage to fizz upward. The formula originally contained lithium citrate, a mood-stabilizing compound, which was later removed from the recipe in 1948 due to regulatory changes. Traditional bagpipes were historically constructed using the entire skin of a sheep, including the legs, neck, and torso. The hide would be treated, sealed, and repurposed into an airtight reservoir or bag, which provided continuous airflow through attached pipes. Modern bagpipes often use synthetic materials, but historically accurate reproductions may still employ animal hides for cultural or ceremonial purposes. Mount Davis, the highest point in Pennsylvania, reaches 1,321 meters above sea level. In contrast, the lowest point in Colorado, located where the Arakawa River crosses into Kansas, sits at 1,010 meters. Despite being Colorado's lowest elevation, this point is higher than the highest geographic elevation in Pennsylvania. The United States has historically deployed mules in numerous military campaigns, particularly in mountainous or undeveloped regions, due to their ability to carry heavy loads over rugged terrain. Notably, in conflicts such as the Second World War and earlier frontier battles, mules supported supply transport. There is no recorded major defeat where U.S. forces relied significantly on mule transport. Pediatric growth studies indicate that human children experience the most rapid linear growth during the spring months. This seasonal growth pattern has been observed in various countries and is attributed to factors such as increased sunlight exposure, dietary shifts, and hormonal changes. Height velocity typically peaks between March and May in temperate climates, especially among school-age children. A standard cord of wood defined as a stack measuring 4 feet high, 4 feet wide, and 8 feet long can yield approximately 7.5 million wooden toothpicks. The exact number depends on wood type and density, but this quantity illustrates the scale of industrial production from a single unit of hardwood, typically maple or birch. The small plastic tips found at the ends of shoelaces are called aglets. Their primary function is to prevent fraying of the lace and to make threading through eyelets easier. Aglets are typically made from plastic, metal, or resin, and the concept dates back to ancient Rome, where similar fasteners were sometimes crafted from bone or bronze. A 41-gun salute is the customary artillery honor given to mark the birth of a royal family member in the United Kingdom. This consists of a basic 21-gun royal salute, augmented by 20 additional rounds when fired from a royal park, or location such as the Tower of London. The tradition is governed by ceremonial military protocol. All humans begin development as a single-celled zygote, formed immediately after the fertilization of an ovum by a sperm. The zygote undergoes rapid mitotic divisions over the next 30 to 36 hours before forming a multicellular blastocyst. This early unicellular stage represents the only time in human life when the entire organism consists of a single cell. Dentists commonly recommend storing your toothbrush at least 6 feet, or approximately 2 meters, away from a toilet. This precaution reduces the chance of contamination from microscopic particles dispersed into the air during flushing. It's one reason some toothbrushes live lonelier lives on the far side of the bathroom sink. Sleeping burns more calories than watching television. The difference isn't enormous, but your metabolism does a bit more work during sleep cycles than during passive screen time. This also makes napping arguably more productive than binge watching. The Concorde supersonic jet could fly from London to New York fast enough to land 2 hours before it took off, due to time zone differences. While this felt like time travel, passengers still aged at the normal rate, and their jet lag remained frustratingly real. Thanks for watching. If you found any of those 184 facts even remotely fascinating, consider subscribing, because this is just the surface. Drop a comment below with your favorite fact, and I'll see you in the next one.